Hi, y'all. Welcome to Erin Talks Travel. Today, we're talking hiking safety abroad. Standard disclaimer: the information presented in this video is for educational and informational purposes only, and any views or opinions expressed therein are personal and should not be construed as medical, financial, or legal advice. Who doesn't love to explore the gorgeous nature to be found in the various biomes of the globe? But Mother Nature is a force to be respected. How can we navigate her natural wonders intentionally and safely? One of the first things to check before heading out is the weather forecast. Don't try to hike in inclement weather, especially if you're not a seasoned explorer. Even nice weather can change quickly, so have a plan to seek shelter if you're going to be actively engaging in any outdoor activities during a storm or rain season in your location. When it comes to being weather-wise, dressing for success is mission critical, not only for the temperatures, which we'll get to momentarily, but also for the flora and fauna. Check to see if any vector-borne diseases, that is, tick-borne or mosquito-borne diseases, are endemic in the location where you will be traveling. You can check this information easily by looking at the CDC's Traveler's Health page and selecting your destination. I'll put a link down below. If you have any specific questions or concerns, it's a great idea to schedule a travel health consultation and speak with the provider about your specific plans as well as your medical history. They can advise if you need to obtain any prophylaxis based on your specific itinerary and situation. There are unfortunately cases of travelers abroad who have contracted vector-borne diseases while hiking, including in popular tourist locations. A famous case involves a high schooler from Hotchkiss School who contracted tick-borne encephalitis while hiking during a school excursion in Mount Panshan in China. Also, wear appropriate attire to try to minimize your exposure, especially if diseases are endemic to the region where you're going to be hiking. Covering up carries additional benefits like minimizing exposure to poison ivy or other itch-inducing plants. While talking about attire, let's talk about the importance of proper outfitting and gear. Sturdy footwear is essential to minimize the risk of injury. Yes, I have seen women try to climb Mount Fuji with high heels, and nope, not a good idea. Always prioritize comfort over fashion. Accidental fall is unfortunately a leading cause of death on study abroad programs. Sunglasses and technical gear as needed are strongly advised and should be appropriate to the level of skill needed to successfully navigate the terrain. If you're going high, sun exposure is another consideration. High altitudes and low latitudes increase sun exposure. On top of that, certain medications can make folks more susceptible to UV rays, so don't forget to pack that sunscreen. Also, make sure to use clothing that minimizes skin exposure or that protects against both UVA and UVB rays. Back to temperature-savvy sensibilities. If you will be exposing yourself to extreme heat or just prolonged periods of time outdoors in the warmer weather, be sure to stay properly hydrated. For more information on staying cool and recognizing signs and symptoms of heat-related illnesses, see my video on heatwave safety, which I'll link to down below. But some highlights for you to remember include maintaining electrolyte replenishment, not just water. Also consider carrying a portable fan or towel that you can douse with all that water that you're carrying and place around your neck to help keep your body cool while you're out and about. The corollary to heat exposure is cold exposure. Even in places that are hot during the day, they can cool off quite considerably come nighttime. Make sure to account for either anticipated cold or suddenly unexpected dropping temperatures when planning. A University of Virginia student unfortunately succumbed to hypothermia while hiking alone in the Triglav Mountains during an exchange program in Madrid. Do your research before you go. Another consideration of high altitudes is not just the temperature, but also the air. High altitudes carry a risk of lack of oxygen. If traveling greater than 8,000 feet above sea level, know how to identify the signs of altitude sicknesses. Different symptoms have different strategies. Acute mountain syndrome, or AMS, is the mildest form of altitude sickness. Symptoms include headache, nausea, fatigue, akin to a bad hangover, with symptoms usually starting within about 6 to 12 hours after beginning the ascent. Treat by descending, hydrating, and resting. If left untreated, a severe progression of AMS is high altitude pulmonary edema. This is a buildup of fluid on the lungs. Symptoms include a dry, persistent cough, shortness of breath even at rest, racing heart, and fever. High altitude cerebral edema is a severe and potentially fatal progression of AMS and is caused by a buildup of fluid on the brain. This is usually a secondary consequence of the severe hypoxia or lack of oxygen caused by the high altitude pulmonary edema. Symptoms include extreme lethargy, confusion, and lack of coordination or balance. Treat by immediately descending and seeking emergency care. The best way to prevent any AMS from occurring in the first place is to ascend slowly when traveling to high altitudes. Allow your body time to acclimatize to every 1,000 to 1,500 feet per day whenever you go over 8,000 feet above sea level. Drink plenty of fluids and eat a diet high in carbs, but avoid alcohol, which can cause dehydration. If you plan to travel to heights and are concerned about the effects on your body, definitely consult your travel health provider and ask if potentially there are any medications that you can take to help your body acclimatize quicker. Usually in study abroad, most altitude sickness cases that present are mild and are typically with travelers to locations such as Machu Picchu. Thankfully, the extreme forms of AMS are relatively rare and usually only occur when traveling to extremely high altitudes. However, that doesn't mean that they can't impact travelers or study abroad populations. The Ohio State University unfortunately lost a student to severe altitude sickness while he was conducting research on Mount Everest in 1997. We've talked about weather, but what about wildlife? Know what the potential for running into wildlife is and what predators are native to the locations where you're going to be hiking. Even in populous areas, some adventurous creatures can encroach upon human civilization in search of food, from rattlesnakes to coyotes, mountain lions to bears. Even monkeys can find their way in close quarters with urban life, depending on where you're traveling. And the further you go off the beaten path, the more likely you are to run into a local resident. We already talked about mosquitoes, but watch out for snakes or other poisonous, creepy crawly things that may find their way in your path. Consider carrying a stick or other object that you can use for making noise, saber rattling, or defense if needed. Some creatures are more brazen the hungrier or hornier they are. Understand what specific creatures you can run into based on the location, as well as the specific time of year that you're traveling. Research tactics for dealing with creatures that could cross your path if such a risk exists. If you're venturing into known bear territory, consider carrying bear spray with ready access. I will always advocate for the buddy system, but while the following is true if you're going to be traveling with friends, it is absolutely critical if you're traveling alone. Always have a communication plan. Tell someone your plans in advance, where you'll be traveling, what you'll be doing, when you're expected back. What would happen if, for instance, you injured your foot and couldn't make the trek back easily or at all? Ideally, you should carry a fully charged phone with you when you venture out for the day. And this is true whether you're hiking or just going on errands. But especially if it doesn't have a sufficient battery life, carry a backup power pack so that you can charge it if it does run low. Also, be mindful of any apps that may have GPS capabilities, especially if you're going to be remote. How remote will you be, and will it work that far from technology? If you're going very much off the grid, consider carrying a sat phone with you for those remote treks or technical climbs. But always check the host country and local laws before carrying a satellite phone with you abroad. Some locations will require you to register your device in advance, and in other locations, these sat phones are strictly prohibited. Again, ideally don't hike alone. Buddy system is always better. If you're going with friends, do not separate from the group. There are unfortunate stories of travelers separating from friends and going missing while hiking. Likewise, travelers may overestimate their abilities and try to tackle treks solo, leading to tragedy. As mentioned earlier, accidental fall is a leading cause of mortality of U.S. students studying abroad. Not only hiking, but this extends to scaling surfaces that are not designed to be, veering too close to ledges, ignoring posted signs, placing too much weight on aged infrastructure such as crumbling statues or buildings. And when hiking, unsteady or wet terrain is something to be on the lookout for, even for the sure-footed or well-equipped travelers in groups. One teenager slipped and tragically fell while hiking in India as part of a national outdoor leadership school program. By approaching Mother Nature and outdoor activities like hiking with proper respect and research, and by engaging in situational awareness while out and about, hopefully future tragedies can be mitigated. Thanks for listening. Hopefully the information presented in this video was helpful for you or your travelers. If you like this video and want more travel content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. To all my adventurers out there, don't forget to register for STEP, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, and enroll in supplemental international insurance for any medical or non-medical emergencies abroad. Until next time, safe travels, y'all.